Okay, welcome. Hey, ladies, we are live here in the She Network, and I want to welcome everybody on where we are sharing her Excellence Network. And I have my beautiful, gorgeous friend here from up north. And and so as you ladies are coming on, let us know where you're coming in from. Let us know your name. Let us know your location so we can welcome you for sure. And if this is a replay, make sure you push hashtag replay on this. And if you are seeing this on our page and you haven't come in to join our group, so the point and purpose of this is Monday Mom's Mindset. And we're going to be giving some tips to moms all over how you can make your life work around kids and build your business at the same time. That's what this value is going to be. So if you haven't joined the group, you can go to the She Network groups and join the group, and we'll welcome you in. So, all right, so we're going to get started here. Welcome, Miss Stephanie. So happy to have you here, Miss Stephanie.
Thank you.
Love those glasses. I have to have those. Those are so cute. So I'll tell a little bit about how you and I connected. And so interestingly enough, we connected at actually an event with Ray Hayden, just the Rainmakers event that we had last October. And my beautiful friend Soraya Goddard introduced us, and you guys have been great friends. And she's like the surrogate mom to your daughter, TJ, yeah. And so anyway, want to just welcome you on. Thank you so much for taking out time and sharing with us today.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yay. Well, and I love the hair too, because you could definitely be the poster child for the She Network with that beautiful pink hair. Love that. So let's talk about it. Let's give some value here to these moms here, because I know that how you started and a little bit about your story, and that you are you're a mom and you do business, you work around your home and your family, and that's your one priority. And I love that. So let's talk about it. Tell us your story. Tell us about your journey.
So I started about 5 years ago. I started network marketing, and I was just approached by a friend because I have a blog called Good Girl Gone Green. And I'd started that blog because I wanted to educate people on how to live more green, how to empower women to live green and not have it complicated. And I would do the research for them so they could just find the info on my website and not have to do all the research that I do. So I started my blog. I loved it.
I'm going to back up. I want to take it before back up 5, let's talk about your story. Let's talk about your history. Let's talk about how you became the mom and the wife you are, because I always say that who you are today is always a result of what your past is that made you the woman that you are. So this is the real deal. This is the Paul Harvey version, right? And I'm glad to have you. Hey, Cheryl. So tell us that part. That's because this is very unique, and this is what I want the ladies to hear. I want to hear the stuff that most of maybe the people you do business with, maybe they've never heard this part of your story.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess my beginning is I have 3 siblings, 2 older sisters. And I have a sister who used to be my brother. She is transgender. So we lived together, the 4 of us. My parents grew up in a divorced family, probably the age of 3 or 4. My parents got divorced. Kind of told that I had to go to university, have to go to college. Like, that's just your path. That's what my sister did. So all throughout life, it's like school. It's number one, because no one in my family went to university except for my sister. My dad didn't go to university. My mom didn't. My grandfather's an orphan from Ireland. My grandmother didn't go to university. So in our bloodline, there was no one that went to school. So it's always like instilled in my brain, like, if you don't go to university, you're not going to find a job. Like, you have to go to college. You have to go to university. So that was my path. Done high school, go to college, go to university, get a good job, have kids, get married, and live the happy life, right?
Right. And that's what that was the trend.
Right.
if you do this, this is your perfect life. This is your perfect path, right? I mean, I think that's a lot of us can raise our hand to that for sure.
Right. And I come to realize, I go to university, I go to college. I was not the most mature person. I'm just going to throw that out there. I played rugby. So it was rugby, it was hanging out with my friends. It was going to the bars, and just kind of living that lifestyle. I worked at a bar as well, at night. So it was just kind of, my life was kind of like all over the place. And I think back and I see women who are like 25 years old and they're in network marketing and they're growing this business. And I'm like, wow, I'm like so impressed by that, because at 25, like I was not there at 25. You know what I mean? Like that was not, like if I would have started network marketing at 25, I'm pretty sure it would have not have been a good idea and I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Right.
And so, I go to university, I graduate in psychology. My boyfriend lives in Ontario. So I moved to Ontario and I can't find a job. Like I cannot find a job. Like I have a university degree. Everyone tells me you need a university degree to find a job. And I find a job at a corner store making like no money because I can't find a job. I'm like, they're overqualified and they won't hire me, or they want more education for what I want to do. And I'm like, I can't live my life working at a corner store.
Right.
So I find a job in the social services when I lived in Ontario. Eventually moved back to Montreal because that's where I'm from. I get a job as a social worker. I love it. I work in women's shelters. I worked for Child Protective Services.
Wow. So you must have seen a lot of stuff.
Yes, I've seen a lot of stuff happen to a lot of families. Matured along the way.
Like give us an example of what. Can you like give us a little insight of what that looks like? Because I mean, this is a piece of things that go on around us that we're completely oblivious to. What did that mean? Because that had to be, you talk about environment and negative. I mean, like what you had to be surrounded with and go home with, and what you had to take home with you. Like take a little piece of that.
Well, so I worked in two different departments. So one of the departments I worked in was the evaluation department. That means when there's a call to Child Protective Services that there's something going on in a home, there's something going on somewhere where we need to intervene. If they say, yes, intervention needs to happen, the next step is evaluation. So you are working from 0 to 18-year-olds where you're blindly going into homes, evaluating a situation. It could be abuse, it could be neglect, it could be anything that is under the law to protect children. And you don't know what you're walking into. Like you have an idea. Sometimes you have to go with the police. Sometimes you go alone. Sometimes you have to go right to the school. So the parents don't know that you're going to talk to their children, because you have the right under the law that I was working under to just go to the school and talk to children without their parents' consent in this type of situation. So I would see anything. Like I would see like abuse. I would see high neglect, no food, children getting hit, like just a full range of things. Like it's heavy. And then you have to go to court. So you have to go in front of the judge and you have to give your case of why this child needs to be in foster care, why they need to be, why the parents need to take these steps. So that was like my first introduction to Child Protective Services. And then I went to a different department and I followed kids, meaning I had caseloads like families from 12 to 18. So my job was, Child Protective Services already raised their hand. They've already gone to court saying, hey, this family needs help, either the parents, the kids, or both. So I would work with families to bring the family back together, help fix the situations. But I mean, there's emergencies, right? Like I worked with a family, like this is pretty heavy. Like I worked with 2 kids where their mother got murdered. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
And they're in foster care for their whole life. And the thing is, the son saw the mother, you know what I mean? So like he's living his whole life. He's probably about 25 years old now. And the father just MIA, just total jerk. And these kids lived in foster care, half their life because their mother was murdered by their boyfriend. So that's like really heavy stuff to deal with. And knowing that these behaviors that these children have, they're big behaviors and you have to help them work through those behaviors. So I did learn through this whole process how to work with people. Definitely gained a lot of people skills during this time, but it was heavy, like coming home from work and, just to try to turn that off a little bit. And I didn't have kids. So I was married, no kids. And so I was doing this, and I think about it sometimes. I'm like, wow, I wonder if it'd be like to go back. You know what I mean? Like, I really did love it. I really did love the people. I loved the work that I did. I love that it was always changing, because I have that personality of like, if I sat in a desk Monday to Friday and all I'm doing is like typing, like I can't, right? So this job every day was kind of different families, different emergencies, working with the police, going to court, on the road. So I really love that aspect of it. And then my husband is an engineer, and he got offered to go to the United States to work for a couple of years. And I said, well, if you're going to go, you got to go now, because we don't have kids. As soon as we have kids, like, it's weird. Like, you'll be gone, they'll be here. It's like, now is the time to go. We've been married for a year. Go do that. So he left for Georgia. So we lived in Georgia, Kansas, Pennsylvania, and Texas. And I got a sabbatical from work. So I left work for a whole year, moved to Georgia, and got pregnant during that time. So I got pregnant. My daughter is born in the United States. She's my little American daughter.
Because you guys are from Canada, because I don't think we clarified that.
Yeah, I'm from Montreal. Montreal, Canada, Quebec. Okay. I live in Quebec. So, met a lot of people, 100% going back to work. So we're living in the States for a couple of years, and we're moving back home now. And my daughter's a year and a half, and I got pregnant again. So in my line of work where I live, if you become pregnant, once you hit 12 weeks, you can no longer work with the families in case there's any danger. So you get like desk work, super boring desk work. So I did that for a while. And then my son was born. I had a home birth, actually, right here. He was born here at home, and he turned 9 months old. And during my whole pregnancy and up till he was 9 months old and beyond, I was working on my blog. That's where like the whole blog, like I'd started my blog in 2011, and I was looking for a way to not go back to work, even though I loved my job.
So what got you like passionate about being like green? Because I don't
know how that happened. Well,
because I'd like to know, like, because that's here you are in the social scene, but now, how did you know to do a blog, or what got you like, okay, that this would work, or that, what made you think about it? I mean, that's interesting to think about.
I don't know when the tipping point was that I went like dark green, like super dark green, meaning like how I live my life very eco-consciously. I think it happened over time. What I do remember is like growing up, my dad composted. And then when I moved in with my dad to go to university, like they recycled, and he was conscious about the environment. And we talked a lot about those things, but I wasn't super into it. And then I don't know what happened. I was, I guess I was in my 20s living by myself, and I started buying organic food, and I didn't know why. I was like, they tell me organic is better. I'm just going to buy it. I'm going to pay more money, and I'm just going to buy organic food. And so I think that's when that process started, where I started to research a little more. And then the tipping point of like, I'm just going to recycle to I'm changing my whole lifestyle, like 180, like went into my cupboard and threw everything out kind of thing, like cleaning products, was we watched the movie Food Inc. We were sitting in Georgia, and we wanted to watch a show. And I was like, I heard this show was supposed to be very good. And we watched Food Inc. And like, I cried through almost all of it. I declared that I'm vegan. I am vegan now, but at the time it was like lasted like a couple of weeks. I was like, I'm only eating organic. We're changing our whole lifestyle. My husband was like, what just happened? I'm like, did you not see the same movie as me? Like, did you not watch that movie with me? And that was my big tipping point, was watching that movie. And that's when the research started. That's when I started looking up the foods I was eating, why foods were made this way, which led to the clothing I started wearing, which led to the products I was putting on my body. It was just a rabbit hole. And I'm like forever in this rabbit hole of like research of what products do I want to bring into my home that are not going to be toxic for me and my family. So that's how,
mom, I mean, like as a mom, it's like one thing for you, but now you're responsible for these little people, right? How do you, how do you make it the safest and best for them? I'm sure that's the mindset that you're under, especially, going through, I mean, just from the background of your own personal life, social work, now all of these things culminating together. And so, but what made you decide, okay, I want to do a blog? Like, that's a big stretch, right? Like, do I just want to do this because I want to share with the world what I'm learning, or was there a business behind it?
There really wasn't. It was really a friend of mine said, Stephanie, you need to start a blog or something because you have so much information in this little brain of yours and you just need to share it. You need to somehow share that info. And she had a blog. It was a blog all about moms and helping them be their best selves. And she's like, you should really start a blog. So I started looking into it. She helped me. I knew nothing about it. I bought my URL, Good Girl Gone Green. I had a cousin who helped me kind of design it because I didn't really want to put a lot of money into it. And then I just got on social media. I got on Twitter. I got on Facebook. I started Instagram. And I just started, before my blog was even launched, I just connected with as many people as I possibly could because I knew that I could make money with my blog, but I didn't know how to make money with my blog. So I just wanted to connect with as many people as possible to learn and also maybe meet people that could help me. And that's what I did. I connected with so many bloggers, green living bloggers, non-toxic bloggers, and we just shared everything. And that's how I met the person that introduced me to network marketing, was through this network of bloggers.
Wow.
Because she lives in Austin, Texas. And one day she just asked me if I used XY products. And I said, not really. And she's like, do you want to? And she later said, Stephanie, you keep expressing that you don't make enough money on your blog and you don't want to go back to work. Have you thought about selling X product?
Because I want to talk about this piece right here because it's really interesting because where you live, I know that we talked about maternity leave. I mean, in the US, like
you get 6 weeks.
You get like 6 weeks. Like that's very, very fortunate. So with your maternity leave, let's talk about that because this is really cool because this gave you a nice window of time to be able to build this out and to get yourself positioned to where you didn't have to go to work. So talk about that for a minute.
Right. So when I started my website, my blog, my daughter was about 6 months old. So in between the nooks and crannies of my day, I would write blog posts. I would be on Twitter. I'd be on Facebook. I'd be on Instagram. I'd be on different Facebook groups, connecting with people, meeting people, and then behind the scenes, what bloggers do is we share our own content. So we'd have a list of stuff. Will you share this for me? And then I would go share it and they would share my stuff and we'd go on Pinterest and share their stuff. So my daughter was 6 months old at that point when I started my website, but in Canada, we get up to a year off.
That's crazy.
Paid, right?
And that's paid, right?
Yeah, from the government.
Wow.
So, and the thing is, because I worked for the government, when I'm done my maternity leave, I didn't have to go back, but I was still guaranteed my job up to a certain point. So this gave me so much flexibility to get this to work. And so when I started my blog, when my daughter was 6 months old, really pedal to the metal, my friend reaches out to me, after Jackson was born, I was really okay, I have 1 year to get this together and push my blog and make a couple, thousands of dollars and just do this.
So what was the actual dollar amount that you needed to replace the full-time income?
Give
us
I wanted $5,000. If I made $5,000 before taxes, I was I could stay home. And that was when I started network marketing, that was my number I gave myself. Once I make $5,000, that's a good buffer. If I would have made less, I would have still left. But that was the idea in my head was $5,000.
Okay.
When blogging, it was if I could make $2,000, I'm out of here. I'm not going back.
Right.
And the thing is, some people, they could be I need 1,000 or 2,000. But the whole thing is with this green living thing, I don't buy a lot of stuff, but when I do, it's expensive. So that's my problem. When I buy a mattress, I'm going to buy one. It's going to last a really long time. But but it's costing me thousands of dollars because it's organic cotton and it's made in the United States or Canada, all these things. So I had to weigh that too, We just started our new lifestyle of organic and green living, which, like I said, we didn't buy a lot because I don't like stuff, but it costs more money. So I think blogging in my head was like, if I could make $2,000, if I could just make $2,000, that'll be amazing. And that's what I was striving for. So when my friend reached out to me, I tried the product and she said, you should really tell people about this. It jives with your brand. It's exactly what's missing. And I just started talking to people. And then Jackson was 9 months old when I got introduced. So I'm like, okay, I have a couple of months to really make a go at this. Like, just start making money and show that I'm making money. Because if I show that I'm making money, I have to technically go back to work in May-ish. And this was like January. I'm like, but if I show that I'm making money, my husband sees that I'm making money. Not that he was the one to make all the decisions, but just like, if I'm not making any money, I have to go back to work. Like, that was just obvious. So if I could just show him like, hey, every month I'm making a little bit extra, then I could prolong a little bit longer my return to work, right? Because I only had to be back in 2000 and like the year after, technically, without pay though. So if every month I made a little bit more and a little bit more, then I could show him like, hey, this is really working. So my head, I was like, by the end of the year, I need to make $5,000. That was like my head, $5,000 end of the year. End of the year, I have to be making $5,000.
So I'm gonna pause you right here. So did you always like to write? Are you a good writer? Was it a gift that you just saw this? You just saw this was an avenue, a way to leverage the content and be able to make money so you could stay at home with the kids. That was ultimate.
I didn't have any sort of writing background. I didn't love to write. I hated reading growing up. Like, until I was probably, I remember this moment. This was like my reading. Like, I didn't like to read. I didn't like to write. I was living with my dad. I was probably 18 or 19. And I was sitting in my bedroom, I was watching TV, and there was like a James Patterson book sitting beside my bed. I think my dad put it there, whatever. And I look down, I'm like, and I just pick it up and I start reading the back. And then I open up, I start reading the pages. That was like my turning point for like, I love to read. Growing up, I hated reading. Like, I disliked it. I never wanted to read. I never wanted to study because I didn't like reading and writing. So when I started my blog, I'm like, I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good writer. So I just kept putting that in my head. And now I'm like, I'm a good writer. And the thing is, I don't have to be a copywriter to get my message across. You know what I mean?
And because I want to hang out here for just a minute because, for the ladies that are here watching, that they're thinking, okay, maybe that's gone through their mind to, maybe I would like to build a blog or I would like to do something like that. And they're thinking, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough writer. I don't know what to do. And, I would really like for you to talk to them because this really speaks to everybody that, you didn't consider yourself to be a reader. You didn't consider yourself to be a great writer, but yet you want to build a blog. And so I find this really cool because it really opens everybody's eyes. Okay, well, if she can, I can do it. If she can do it under those, and she didn't know what to do, and she wasn't a writer, and she can have success. Okay, maybe I can too. That's ultimately the message and everything is that you are good enough right now. If you just want to do it, just step out and do it. I'm sure it was very uncomfortable for you, I would suspect.
When I was writing, I would always be like second guessing myself. Like, even now, like, I'm just going to then and then. Okay, maybe I don't get mixed up with that, but there's one, I'm always have to like sit and be like, then and then. Okay, and like, I have to actually think for 5 seconds to make sure I don't make a mistake. And it's not because I'm not smart. It's just growing up, like, yes, I went to school. Yes, I did all these things, but writing was not my strong point. It was never my strong point. And I had so many people tell me when I started my blog, they're like, they don't care if it's not perfect. It's the content that they want. But I was so fixated on the perfection. I was so fixated on like, it has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect, because what I would see is I'd see other, like, my blogging friends, that they would get like ripped apart because they made a spelling mistake. Like, how many times do you see on Facebook and Instagram, if I see one more person use then instead of then, I'm gonna, I'm just like, really, is this what we come to? You're going to get angry with people because they had a spelling mistake. They put there instead of there. But I often see that on Facebook, like the grammar police. And I'm just like, not everyone grasps grammar like you do, but maybe you're not good at math. Like, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
maybe you're not good at coloring, or maybe you're not good at talking to people. Like, we all have our strengths, right? And writing was just never my strength. But then I embraced it and said, you know what? I write like I speak. Like, that's just what happened.
Right.
And the thing, I was speaking to a friend of mine, Marina Simone, actually, and we were talking about writing.
She's
and
awesome.
but what she said to me is, Stephanie, people are attracted to you because when you write, that's who you are. You're not getting this fancy copywriter to do all of your writing for you. When they read your copy, when they read what you are actually writing, it's coming from you.
So this right here, this is so key, Stephanie. This is so key. And I really, the ladies that are watching here, is because this is where you connect with people.
Exactly.
Really connect with people, because whether, in your business, whatever kind of business that you're in, or whatever you're doing, blog or whatever that is, you connect with the reader, the viewer, the potential customer, the potential new partner, whatever that is, whenever they see themselves in you. They see themselves in your story. They go, oh, she's just like me. She's reading. She knows how I feel. She knows what I'm going through. She knows how I experience things. And so that makes you more, it's an identification process that takes place with your reader, that you are connecting with them on their level. And so they love you. They embrace you for that, in all your imperfections, right? And so I just want to take a moment and just like celebrate you and congratulate you for not getting boxed into perfection, and not getting boxed into trying to be perfect, and just to be you, and let people embrace you for being you and real and authentic. I think that's so much to be celebrated. And this is the whole reason why I built this network, and why I want to love on women. And I want women to see themselves and the value that they have inside, and that they have a gift that needs to be shared with someone else. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes and just applaud you, and just thank you for continuing to pursue and go down this path. So anyway, don't mean to interrupt. I just
no.
This is so cool. I love it. I love it.
And it's such a process, right? Like, give you an example. I've been learning so much about Instagram, just really like behind the scenes. And I wanted to put together like this little mini course for my team, like daily action steps on what they can do on Instagram to grow their business. And I was paralyzed for a while, because I'm like, well, I don't have all my days kind of done out. I don't really have it all planned out. And Ray just looked at me and was like, Stephanie, if you wait till it's done, you're never doing it. I was like, kind of just like shriveled down a little bit. And I was like, you're right. And guess what? I started on day one with day one only done.
Yes.
It's
so
hard.
Well, and I was always taught this. So ladies, write this down. An imperfect plan put into action is better than a perfect plan never implemented.
Exactly.
So kudos to you, my dear. I mean, it's just about, you got to get out of the boat, right? You got to, I mean, as the Lord said to Peter, you got to step out of the boat, dear. You got to step out of the boat. Right. So congratulations on that.
And I think, and what came out of it was just me showing up every day. It was me showing up every day. Some days I was a day in advance. I do 2 videos a day and be like, yes, tomorrow I can just sit and relax. I can do other stuff. But it was just, I wanted to show up for my team. I think we talked about this in the interview where, before we even knew each other, I was always struggling with like keeping my word. And not because I didn't want to, it was just, I would say yes to everything. Yeah. And then none of it would happen, or half of it. And then I would feel horrible. And then I would hide and then pretend maybe they didn't notice that I didn't follow through with what I said I was going to do. So this whole Instagram thing was kind of, I told my team I was going to show up every single day for X amount of days. And no matter if I didn't want to do the video, no matter if I didn't want to do anything, I made sure that I showed up for them. And that was like one of the first times Like I really showed up for more than 1 minute. You know what I mean? Not saying that I don't show up and don't keep my word. It's just, it can be overwhelming when you're working for yourself and you're network marketing and you want to please everyone. You want to say yes to everyone.
Yes.
And then in the end, you're saying no to yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and let's talk about that right there. This is so typical of every mom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that I know. And I mean, whenever I say that, I mean, literally I've got one finger pointing out to you, but I've got three coming right back to me. And I'll make myself really vulnerable and transparent in this moment. And I know that this is not on the script and we didn't talk about this, but I mean, like, I will tell you, like, I mean, me launching this network, I mean, it's taken time from my family because this is it's a passion project. It's not anything that has to do with our business that Larry and I do together. It's a passion project, right? Because I'm passionate about it. But to be honest with you, it's taken time away from my family. Now, I have grown kids, right? I have a daughter that just got married. I've got one in college. I've got one, my baby's 21 years old, and my husband. And they're going, where are you? What's going on? And so, why aren't you here? Why aren't you this? And I'm like, I'm building something. I'm focused. And I find myself going, gosh, I'm doing everything for trying to please them and make sure everybody's happy. And I haven't had a facial. I haven't had a massage. I haven't, so we always put ourselves last, right? Isn't that true? I mean, and I don't think that ever changes. I don't care how old your kids get. I don't think it changes. I'm in this boat. I'm like, they never grow up. They never grow up.
And it's everything, right? Like you want to say yes to your team when they ask you a question. You want to respond right away. Like today I had someone ask me a question. I responded. And then I saw they asked me another question. And I was like, I can't answer right now. Like I want to help her, but I just didn't answer it. So I was like, I got to get ready for this interview. I had to do something else my husband asked me to do last minute. So I was like, I just don't have time right now. And it's not that I didn't want to, and she's not going to think any less of me, but it's in my head of, oh, it's 1:30 Eastern time. She asked me the question at 11 and I didn't answer fast enough. But at the same time,
and so
it's okay.
And I love that you're sharing this because this is so much value here for the ladies that you're watching, is learn to set your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Learning to set hard thing, especially whenever you have a giving nature, you giving heart. And as moms, I think that's natural for us being nurturers by nature. We want to pour into people, but not at the price of self-sacrifice, right? Not at the price of sacrificing family or what comes first. And not that you don't care about that person, but this is such a life lesson, especially especially in business for yourself, especially in business. This is such great content. This is so awesome.
And going back to that writing thing is that I think what happened was when I started my blog, I didn't know what I was doing. So when I got into network marketing, what happened was we all started at the same time. So the person that enrolled me was super new. I enrolled like a bunch of people. They enrolled people. We all started and we're like walking around, like, what are we doing? And we all kind of just went poof. And like, not in a bad way. We just started talking to people. There was like no real systems. It was just like, tell people about the product and yay, get them to buy it. And it worked, but there wasn't any sort of like process in place, right? And so my whole upline is in the United States. Every market's different. I'm in Canada. The Canadian market, the products coming into Canada are different. We can't have access to all the products. Prices are different for the exchange rate. So I think actually me doing my blog and going through how to kind of do stuff by myself, but get a little bit of help actually served me really well when I started in network marketing, because I didn't have anyone to help me through any of that because they didn't have the answers because they lived in the United States. So why are they going to go research the answer when I could just go ask the question? You know what I mean? Like it wasn't Lindsay's job to go find out all the answers about Canada for me.
Right? But here's the lesson in that, Stephanie, which, really is something that, Larry and I teach that is not so well taught right now in our current network marketing era. And that is self-responsibility,
Right.
self-leadership, because not a lot of people are willing to go to the gym and lift their own weights. And the fact that you were willing to say, okay, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to go find the answers. So the research and stuff that you were doing from the Good Girl Gone Green is served you well in the network marketing space, because you were looking for answers over here to serve this. But now, because you created that habit and that discipline, you're like, okay, I don't know all the answers, but I can figure it out. So that right there is, I have to commend you again for such, I mean, that's such leadership in and of itself, and not waiting or depending on anybody else to go find it out for you, that you were willing to go to the gym, lift your own weights, and do the work yourself in order to lead by example. That's such a powerful lesson.
And I honestly, like, from my team, like, I have a large team. I get questions, but I don't get a lot of questions because they can go search for it in the Facebook group, or they can go figure it out themselves. Like, I think, the person I enrolled with, Lindsay, just kind of set that tone for everyone at the very beginning. And it just trickled down to everyone else that, hey, we're not here to hold your hand. We will help you. We will guide you. We're not here to hold your hand and find every answer possible. I'm the go-to Canadian girl. Someone has a Canadian question, happy to answer them. You don't have to give the nuances, what's different, because for them to find those answers, it wouldn't be super difficult. But, when a new market opens, I just look it up. I don't, hey, how to do this? I try to figure stuff out myself. And I think that's such a good quality in people. And if, the ladies watching, the women watching, if you're in a position, even if you don't have a big team, just kind of setting that tone from the beginning and not doing everything for them. Because, if you enroll Sally and you do everything for Sally, guess what Sally's doing for Elizabeth? She's doing everything for Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth's doing everything for Karen. Karen's doing, and it's just this domino effect of holding hands. And then the moment you let go, it's like, what happened? I can't grow my business anymore. I have no one telling me what to do. So I feel like it's so important that we kind of, as leaders, step back a little bit and let them find their own way and let them fall and make mistakes, because that's what happened with me. I've made like a gazillion mistakes and I still do. The
truth of the matter is that's really how we grow, and that's really how we grow into being independent, because the reality is that as distributors, you are independent contractors, you are in business for yourself. And it's not anybody's responsibility. It's not your upline, downline, sideline, crossline. It's yours. It is your business. And so there's so much value in teaching that, because if you can truly build a business that your organization or your team is independent of you, you really have built a business. Because if everything depends and hinges on what you do or what you don't do, or how you serve or how you don't serve, then that's just another job, right? So I love this, because I love how you've created this business, you created this blog. So let's talk about how fast it moved for you, because we didn't really talk about that, because we didn't get to the good part. And the good part is that you didn't have to go back to work. Okay, so we didn't talk about that. So let's talk about and celebrate that piece of it.
Well, what happened was, so when Jackson was 9 months old, it was like pedals to the metal. I got a couple of months to make this work. And this is not a cliche at all. It's just like, for that time period, like being, a second-time mom and like fog, still nursing a baby, baby's still at home with you, trying to run a business. Like, it's really foggy for me, like what went down during that year. Like, people ask me, what did you do? And sometimes I honestly say, I don't know what I did, because it's very foggy, because like I said, I'm like nursing, I'm up all hours trying to fit in a business. But I think the number one thing I did was, I did ask a lot of questions if I couldn't find the answer, and I was consistent as much as I could be with having a new baby at home. And
consistent. I mean, such a magical word, such a platform to stand on.
And the thing is, like, every leader that you're going to hear speak is going to say consistency. And the reason that everyone says it is because it works. And it's not consistent. I'm going to reach out to 100 people a day for 30 days. Not consistent. Like, I'm going to reach out to 2 people a day. It doesn't have to be a gazillion people, or I'm going to follow up with 2 people a day. If you consistently follow up with 2 people a day, or consistently talk to 2 people a day, consistently do a Facebook Live, you know, if your goal is like, I'm doing a Facebook Live every second day, consistently showing up every second day. It's not the amount, it's literally how often you're doing it, how consistent you're staying. Like, I've seen that huge difference on Instagram by literally, I post on Instagram, I would say almost every day. And when I don't post, I'm like, because I can see my numbers shift. I can see things shift with when I talk to people, when I engage with people, because I'm not consistent with the posting of every day.
Sure.
That I would do. And I know people hear this all the time, oh yeah, everyone says be consistent, but it really, really is the magical part, not just network marketing, just in business, right?
It's
consistent.
So this is fun. This is interesting that you say that, because whenever I was building my business, right? So there was no social media. I mean, my social media was business card flyers that I did in the Walmart parking lot, right? That said, we'll help you to lose weight, right? And so I did it on above the door handle of every car in the parking lot. And so I did 1,000 a day, 1,000. Now that may not sound like a big number to you, but that's a big number. And you know what happened is I was doing it, and I would get frustrated because like the phone wouldn't ring, or you know, because literally it was the phone. There was no email, there was no internet, there was no websites, right? There was
no private messaging.
There was a phone that was hardwired to the wall. That was, yes, okay. And I just remember, and then I get frustrated and I would stop. And then I would go back to a meeting, they talk about consistency. I would go back and do it again. And it was finally whenever I made up my mind, I was going to keep doing it until ... right? And whenever I made that my mind up that I was going to do it until, and whether that's the Facebook Live or posting on Instagram, whatever that is that you're doing consistently to get your message and to stay on your message, it works. Because whenever I finally decided to do it until is whenever my phone started ringing, wouldn't stop ringing, and my business exploded. And so it's such a great, great lesson that never changes, and it's a word that never changes and never goes out of style without question. So tell me, okay, so we really because you had a really, really, really great start and off to a fast.
So it went fast. Like I made my goal was $5,000, and before the end of the year, I'd made my I was starting to make $5,000 a month. So I was able to say, I'm not going back to work. But I did wait till the last minute before telling them I wasn't going back. Like I think it was like in May, the following May, I officially had to be back. And the thing was, I took a sabbatical. So here in Quebec, a lot of teachers can do this. A lot of government jobs is, let's say you work for 3 years at 75% of your salary, and then your 4th year you get off at 75% of your salary. So for 4 years, you're working at 75% of your salary, but you get a year off at the end. So with me, it was the opposite. I would take the year off at 75% of my salary and then go back to work and pay them back. But I didn't go back to work. So I had to wait till the last minute because I owed them like $35,000, you know, $40,000, because they paid me for my first year thinking I'm going back. And you can't do like payment plans. You have to pay them back when you quit. So I had to pay them. So that's why I waited to the last minute to tell them I wasn't coming back, so I could collect all that money and we could figure out, okay, now we got to pay them back, so I don't have to. If I wouldn't have been able to pay them back, I mean, I'm sure something might have been able to have been worked out, but I didn't even want to touch that because they might have just said, come back to work. And I've been like, no.
I'm done. I'm done. To be celebrated for sure. So, but you've grown really fast. You've built a large team. You're, well, you know, I would say in the top 1% of your company? Fair assessment?
Pardon? I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm one of the top leaders for sure. I mean, our company, like, definitely the top leaders make a lot of money. So I would say that I'm almost going to be making 7 figures. So
Okay. I didn't know what you wanted to disclose here, what you felt comfortable sharing here. You know,
I'm high six figures, moving eventually my way to 7 figures a year.
and you've been doing this for how long now?
Almost 6 years.
Yeah. So pretty good with consistency, I would say. Yeah. So we got some moms here, and since this is moms, you know, I wanted you to have you on here, Moms Monday Mindset. So what would kind of words of wisdom would you pour into the ladies? What would you give them that they could walk away with today? What would you say?
I think one little piece of information, like I guess advice, would be if you're at home and you're not doing the 9 to 5, you're at home because you decided to stay at home with your kids. So my advice for you is to build your business with your 2 thumbs. A friend of mine said that to me. She's like, I built my business with my 2 thumbs. She's on her phone building her business. And it doesn't have to be 3 hours straight. It's building your business with your 2 thumbs in between the laundry, in between this, in between that. And I know it sounds like a lot, but you can accomplish a lot in 15 minutes. You really, really can. When I sit down and I actually say, I have 15 minutes to do this, I'm like, wow, that was awesome. I got so much done in 15 minutes. Imagine I did these 15 minutes multiple times a day and didn't get distracted. So for those of you that are struggling with, you know, I'm at home with my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old, and it's like hot mess express, just find those little 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon, 15 minutes at night. And if at night, before you go to bed, you need to take 30 minutes, then take that 30 minutes, because I think the most important thing is if you don't build your business, no one else is. So if you have this grand idea of like, I want to make $1,000 a month, if you don't take those 15 minutes, it's not going to happen.
I love that. I love, you know, the 2 thumbs.
Building your business, you have 2 thumbs.
I mean, obviously, I didn't have 2 thumbs because
we had 2 thumbs, but
I mean, I have 2 thumbs, but I just didn't have the, you know, this, right?
Right.
But I called it. I nipped and tucked my business where I could around my children. You know, a little nip here, a little tuck here. You know, folding clothes here. You know, cooking dinner here. You know, every little contact that I could do between naps, between feeding, with all of those things. Same concept, but if you think about it like that, 15 minutes focused is, you know, is better than 2 hours kind of scramble around like, okay, what am I doing, and not be focused on, you know, talking to somebody about your product or talking to somebody about your opportunity. So, you know, so go ahead. You want to say something?
I was going to say, and those moms that are working the 9 to 5 and their dream is to cut down their hours and only work a couple days a week, the same thing applies, but, you know, do it without, you know, if you can't do it while you're working, because, you know, but do it on your lunchtime, or wake up 15 minutes early and knock something out, or on your lunch hour, if you have a half an hour for lunch, eat and respond to messages. If you use social media, that's when you can maybe post on social media. Use nighttime once your kids are in bed. And I think the overall thing is to ask for help. Like if you are in a relationship, ask your significant other, like, hey, I really want to do this. Can you help me?
Yes.
Once a week, and can you put the kids to bed at 7 o'clock so I can go work for 3 hours and go to bed and be fresh for the next day for the kids? Like, ask for that help if possible, because if you don't ask, they're not going to assume. And I think it was a friend or like an acquaintance. I'm not sure if her husband was 100% on board, but she just said, can you give me a year? Can you give me 1 year to work at night, to not be present, super present for you? Give me 1 year of working at night, not sitting on the couch watching TV with you when the kids are in bed. Let me wake up early on weekends. Let me do some stuff. Give me 1 year to show you that this network marketing business works. And if it doesn't, then I'll stop. So and he was like, okay, you have a year to make this work. So she worked at night. Once the kids were in bed, she didn't sit on the couch watching TV. And I'm not bashing watching TV, because I watch TV. I love Netflix. I feel like I need that balance of like Law and Order and like all those fun shows.
Yeah.
So there are people out there that are like, don't watch TV, don't have a life, you need to be working 24/7. That's not me. I need that balance. Like, I like to watch Netflix, and I'm just going to throw that out there. So I'm not bashing the people that watch TV because I'm one of those people. But like, if say you work 9 to 5, when can you work? Mornings, night, lunch. So instead of watching TV at night, you say to your husband, instead of us sitting on the couch and watching that show we love to watch, can I have that time to work my business?
Sure.
And if you ask the permission instead of just doing it, it's going to change the whole dynamic. So if every night you're like at your computer and he's sitting there like,
yes,
is she like doing this forever and like all the negativity? But if you have a real conversation, it's like, I want to do this and I'm doing it for us. I'm doing it so I can sit on the couch whenever I want because I'll be making money with network marketing and I don't need to work at night every night. That's a different conversation than just doing it and then becoming resentful.
This is so true right here, Stephanie, because there's need to be a buy-in because it is a partnership. And the buy-in to have that conversation where there is support and not resentment. Because without the conversation comes resentment, right? And so when there's a buy-in and there's a partnership that if you do this and support me here, then this is the end game and this is our goal together. And then whenever you reach the goal, then they can celebrate together as a team because it took both parties on both sides in order for that for the work or the the effort to come together to fruition. And I think a lot of times that conversation doesn't happen when it should. The resentment takes over, and then there becomes the conflict in the household. And so that's such great words of wisdom. So now I know that we talk about here sharing your excellence. I'm going to ask some of the ladies here because you've got so much excellence. So I love we could be like, what would you want to give them? Well, should we ask them? Like you could, like, there's so many
I could
into the community in our membership. What would that look like?
I've got a couple ideas. You guys let me know in the comments wherever you're coming from. We can go check it out. But I love teaching on Instagram, like just tips and tricks on how you can grow your business on Instagram. I love teaching people how to make their own products so they're not spending tons of money on products that they can just buy and make themselves. Like I love teaching on that. And I'm like the laziest DIYer ever because I don't make it complicated because I don't want to have to wear gloves and a mask to make my products. So I love teaching on that. I love teaching on green living when it comes to living that zero waste lifestyle, sustainable fashion. I could talk about it forever. Like where to find really cool stuff that's sustainable, that won't break the bank, that'll last longer. So those are kind of 3 topics I'm super passionate about. Whole Instagram and growing your business, showing people how to save money by making their own products, and then kind of incorporating the 3rd thing would be like sustainable fashion and that whole green living, eco-conscious topic. And
I know some of them are going to be asking, say, well, what about what if I want to build a blog? Can you?
I think my biggest advice when it comes to blogging and what I tell my team is building a blog is great. If you have a passion and you have something to say, do it. But if you're doing it because you think it's going to grow your network marketing business, don't do it because it's so much work. Like you have so much to learn. I use mostly social media as my blog now. That is my blog. I mean, I post on my blog, but a lot of my stories I tell are on Instagram and Facebook. That is my platform right now. And then I have, blog posts for people to like Google me or whatever. But I think you have to sit down and think about what are the reasons why you want to start a blog. Is it because you think that if you have a blog, people will find you and like you'll be able to sell your products? No, because you have to have something you're actually passionate. Like I was so passionate about green living, which led me to my products. Or if you're so passionate about cars, let's say, you're like, I need to have a blog all about cars, or I need to have a blog all about, fashion. Then yes, if that's your passion, but don't do it because you think it's going to lead you to leads on the internet because the Google is very complicated on search engine optimization.
So ladies, whatever she said, like this is something we're gonna like leave this to be announced what she's going to serve us inside the membership as we launch this at the middle of the month. We're going to be launching the membership. So this whole group and our whole platform is going to be a membership community. And so we'll have special experts like Stephanie that are giving their excellence inside this community. So as we're leaving today, tell us, Stephanie, like, do you have like a favorite book? Do you have like, you know, like, do you have like a go-to book, like maybe is your resource that you carry around, or maybe like when you need a mindset shift, you know, do you have something that you
listen to podcasts?
Okay.
So I love the quote of the day. I try to listen to that every day because it's like usually under 5 minutes.
What's it called?
Quote of the day.
Quote of the day.
By Sean Croxton. And it's great because what he does is he pulls content from speakers. So he might have like 5 minutes of Les Brown, 5 minutes of Mel Robbins, 5 minutes of this person. And it's a great podcast. It's super uplifting. It just kind of like gets your day started. So I listen to that podcast. I love The 4-Year Career. I use that book to help me in my business, to get people to learn about the business model. If they don't want to watch a movie, like watch a video, they can totally read the book. I use that book. And I'm trying to think of other books and what other podcasts.
So talking about quote, what's your, like, what is one of the favorite quotes that like you really stand on? Like you got like, okay, this is my quote. One that you could like.
Not really, I wouldn't say it's a quote, but I always say something like whenever I finish a video, I'm always like #MakeMagicHappen. And that's kind of my go-to thing where my team just knows that I'm going to say it. And I've kind of been known for on different things. But another thing when I talk about green living is I want to empower women to go from overwhelmed to green empowerment. Like that's what I want. I don't want people to think that they have to change their whole lifestyle to make small changes, because I did that. I threw everything out of the house. But I'd say like that is one of the things I say a lot. Like I want to empower women to go from overwhelmed to that green empowerment and learn how to stand in that.
Love that. Well, Stephanie, I just want to thank you. This has been an absolute blast to spend this time with you. I thank you so much for sharing with the ladies here, sharing your excellence and your journey. And it's been quite a day for sure. Thank you for that time. So you guys, ladies, give her some hearts and love. And if you get this on the replay, make sure you push replay on there. And give Stephanie lots of kudos for today. So
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.